It's simple. It's like that stupid emu commercial. I'm glad So I see you're going to Rob's festival. You're listed.
I can't wait.
I just want to let you know you don't have to do anything. Just if you want to show up, show up. We'll take care of you. My status is I can't say I can't. I mean, I would if I showed up. But because, if I'm not mistaken, New York grants reciprocal where you can have your New Jersey medicine and your New Jersey ID with you in New York and they'll accept it. That being true, I've never been to a festival where I had a free ride there and back. So I hope to I saved it up. You know, I don't use it all each month. I feel like I could appreciate something like that, and there'd be a line forming to tell me why it sucks. You know, without so much as thinking. And when you get there, what do you think the prices are going to be? They're going to be lower than ever, or as low as ever. I always like the ability to have your pipe with you, and then go to a table or somebody with a backpack, and I found that to be, and then the bargaining. You know, I don't do that myself. I respect somebody asking whatever price they want, because I can just say no. I'll tell you one thing, I pulled a disappearing act one time when this guy who's kind of a jerk was looking all over, like everywhere, and as soon as he find it, he'd take a commission.
Is it still buffering? How bad is the buffer? Video or just audio?
Bring in the boss one. I'm gonna get mine. Go do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty! Let's roll, 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 roll. I'm back on the scene, slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises, promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty! Let's roll.
Switching to the hotspot now. I don't have an answer for that.
Who you wanna roll with? Roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty! Let's roll! Let's roll! Let's roll!
that. We're using the hotspot today, so today's podcast is actually going to cost us a few bucks. Hello, Fairfield. Good morning, Lavalette. Now, our first
Lesson.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll
Still got 25 seconds left to fill.
we need to do a 30-second timer
Because
we need temperature for you to dab at. That's what they say. This is a beautiful little vape micro nectar collector.
oh, look at that.
Look at that. It's got a little leather piece on there. Comes right off. All right. Get this sucker hot. It's red now. It's pretty red. All right, don't touch the hot end.
Well, tell me.
Okay, now what you do is you would put that into your nectar,
Yeah.
and you just,
While it's in there.
while it's in there, you suck. Now wait till the timer goes.
Tell me I suck.
Tell you how to suck.
I thought I was going to have to do this for 30 seconds.
Okay, ready,
Which
2, 1. Anyone, just pick one. Okay. How was that? Did you? Looks like a good one. It didn't look like it was a hot hit. So, was it hot? No. Yeah, it looked good. That was a good one.
Let it work its way through. I got two lungs going, I'll tell you, it's a pretty good shortcut.
You may want to wait longer, depending on your lungs. You can wait 5 seconds longer.
I kind of like to self-titrate by letting it sink in for about a minute or more. A minute, maybe.
So we're here in Trenton, finally, back at the State House. Our weekly is back. We haven't been here in a while. We've been all over the state. Pure Puff Vapor Supply, the War Memorial. Jeez, we've been all over the place. Keeping busy.
Is that because of problems getting a permit here, or are you just spreading yourself around?
No, the permits were taken.
Yeah.
CWA had a permit. CWA took this place over for a month. A whole month. Yeah. So
How long do they let you make appointments in advance now?
It seems like you could do it for the whole year now.
Really?
Yeah.
Make it easier for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think it'd make it easier for them, but if you just don't show up for one, you lose the rest of your appointments. I mean, it should be. Otherwise, why not reserve them all and just show up when you feel like it?
Yeah, reserve every day.
Well, you can't. Well, I mean, but you should show up every day. The thing is, if they reserve something for a week, okay, system in place for the permits here. A lot worse.
I've seen
some other
worse.
states. I've seen a lot worse in other states for sure.
Yeah, they make you get insured.
Yeah, they just let it. They're pretty clear about the rules, and they're not. Well, I don't like to believe it, but they won't let you speak. But it was you can't videotape an open meeting.
Right. They claimed.
So if I just held up my phone and it wasn't on, it would scare them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you allowed to hold the
No.
phone? It's not on.
No.
What if it's not on?
No. How do you know? How do we know?
You know what they may not like, but what you can do is you can wear it with a headband. It doesn't.
I know.
It's just like
Yeah. Yeah, they broke the Sunshine Law, which is a law that protects us in these councils. It protects the public. It makes them put notifications in the newspaper. It allows us to film. Have a lot of problems in Lavalette. The councilman's wife actually attacked us on Facebook, verbally. Said that I attacked her in the parking lot in front of her door.
The report would bear. Oh, there is no report.
No, there's no report. There was just a Facebook post about an attack and how we must be stopped.
Yeah.
We must be stopped. So I'm going to ask the councilman, does he agree with his wife?
That if you don't agree with somebody's policy and you express that you don't agree with it, that makes you a lot of different bad things depending on which way somebody hidden. People that want cameras off or people that generally aren't real sure about what they're doing is the correct course of action. And they're not used to people showing up. So
No, they're not.
You surprise people a little bit. I'm sure you scare them.
We do scare them. That's the problem.
I think you scare them more when you show up dressed like like you did in Fairfield.
Oh, dressed up, yeah, I like that with a tie.
No, really. Well, there's at least that medium, and I gotta say, not for nothing, but you're still like seemingly some sort of work in progress where years ago you would show up and get a knee-jerk reaction before you said anything. Now you have a pretty good feel for where you do and don't need to do that, because you certainly don't need to do it all the time.
No, I don't.
You know,
The chief was great, though.
he was.
The chief was on the ball.
He knew right off that wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
He knew right off.
And he was anti-cannabis.
How do you feel about the he was?
He was anti-cannabis, but he was pro-Constitution. He's pro his job, his oath.
And the kind of person who would have a discussion about this and not mind if cameras were on, because he's the real deal.
What do you got to hide? Nothing.
So, how do you feel about the explanation that it was some sort of clerical drafting error? It said the use of marijuana, whether it be recreational or medical,
Yeah.
is forbidden in all zones.
Didn't seem like
it was very specific.
It's so specific
It
that
was so it wasn't. Okay, our president did explain something one time by saying, "I forgot to use the word no or not," which totally reversed a situation
Yeah.
180. And maybe they think, "Hey,
great.
let's try that one." But it went through 2 readings, and my take is this: that they are not paying attention to what they're doing. They're not aware of their surroundings. They don't listen when somebody else reads something, even during their workday at the course of their job, and they're worried about marijuana use because why? Because that might happen to people. They're exhibiting signs that they say are what would happen if marijuana was
Yeah.
everywhere. They're already there. They're not doing their job. So they got paid to draft that, in effect. They were getting paid. They were on the books. They were on the clock. They did 2 readings, and nobody caught that. They were forbidding
Yeah.
the use of medicine.
the town attorney didn't catch that? What does he do all day?
It's, I'm sorry. I'm going all the way out on a limb here, and I know it could be considered slander, but they're lying.
No.
Yes, lying, the L word. I learned that from Cheryl. No harm in putting the L word out there. Well, he's not been completely forthright in his use of the facts. Let's get to it. Go out on a limb. So, what I liked about that was, at the same time, Peter Rosenfeld had made a very appropriate. It seems that the day after you did this, they called him with an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my point about they don't want you to have a record, my opinion was it was some sort of covert apology, almost like, okay, listen, you're right, but let me give you a personal phone call. It's just like getting that phone call instead of just a letter. It makes it more personal. And I thought that was nice, but in my mind, that was you. That you got the shortest distance between the perceived problem and finding at least a solution, what would happen. So you cut out all the bullshit in the middle.
Yeah, right to the top.
Went there and got, you dressed for the occasion. You look like Geraldo Rivera about to do an expose or something. And it was potentially to be taken in a situation where that's the behind-the-scenes stuff you do to... Yeah, so that was the pretty good desired outcome.
Yeah.
And
Hey, man, good morning. How are you?
we are medical marijuana patients and
Yeah.
advocates for years. There's a medical marijuana law that's helping a lot of people, but it costs too much. You can't grow your own if you're a patient. You run out. So we stay on top of it. By way of showing up with a podcast that's broadcast live and then available for future, watching. Not going to be today, but often legislators walk by that we get to talk to just by being here. So We're like gatekeepers. Actually, he's the gatekeeper here. He makes sure that things don't stall. If he does, he walks up and goes, I'm sorry, is there a reason we're all waiting still? He shows up everywhere. So,
Didn't it pass or it didn't pass?
oh, it's already passed. Well, the governor, what happened was there's a sales tax on medical marijuana, and there's no sales tax on any other medicines. So there was plans to get rid of it 6 years from now. That's a long time. Patients are going to die in 6 years. Then the governor stepped in and made a play that couldn't be refused at a crucial time when it was time for a vote. He said he needed that to be lessened, not 6 years full sales tax, 3 years, and it gradually gets down. So like next year it'll be less than it is this year. So he got rid of about 80% of money patients would have had to pay for sales tax that they then can't use for medicine, and they run out. Again, somebody's got to be a gatekeeper. Used to be me 25 years ago, 20 years, 15 years ago. I've been showing up forever. And then this man here started showing up and doing podcasts, and he shows up at town hall meetings, just speaking truth to power. What's that?
Grab a microphone so I can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Grab,
We're on live.
Grab this one.
I can't talk off.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Just grab this mic there so I can hear you. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, with the headphones on, you don't hear anything, and
that's
he has
good.
to hear what's
Hello?
going on.
Yeah, man. Hey, what's your name?
John.
John. What's up, John? How are you, buddy? John's interested in our cannabis podcast. He probably smelled us and walked over here, right?
This
I'm trying to see how I can get some.
This is my legal medicine from a dispensary that I'm allowed to have and wave about and use as we sit here. This is a smoking zone. I'm allowed to do this, and
New Jersey, yeah.
So we do. Obviously, I can't share it with him. Obviously, I can't share it with anybody.
Right, we can't share.
It's just the level I can control with a couple of puffs.
Yeah, well, I'm going through pain right now, so I'll get it.
Yeah, well, it's
You have to go to your doctor. Do you have a doctor you go to?
Yeah, I got a personal doctor.
in a physician registry, and I think there's a lot of doctors that don't know that
Right.
registry's gone. If you're a physician and you can prescribe scheduled, you don't have to use your own doctor if he disagrees with it. That is hard for a lot of people, but
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you, I find that having my card on me, knowing that I'm legal. I've been a cannabis consumer since 1970. I've been looking over my shoulder a long time. Now that I'm hurt, maybe I'm in pain, maybe I'm not. I don't know. I get to smoke it.
You look like you're in a lot of pain. I think you deserve it.
Yeah. Well,
Do you have a doctor? Do you have insurance?
Yeah, I got insurance.
You have insurance. Okay, 'cause that's helpful. Any doctor can do it. So talk to your doctor. Tell him you want medical cannabis. You don't want opiates. What is your issue? Do you mind asking me what's your issue? Like, why do you need it? Yeah.
I got a stent in my leg.
You got a stent in your leg. Okay.
Arteries being shot.
Ouch.
Until recently, until recently, it really depended on what your pain was from, whether you were allowed in the program. Now that there's been changes, you're absolutely allowed in if a doctor recommends it. And if you have any particular questions and you have email capabilities, you just email me anything saying met you in Trenton, whatever. If you have a question about it and you can't find the answer, But the health department actually makes it easy as well. They're kind of on patients' side now, where they weren't for a Christie Republican administration. They were not being helpful. Things have changed. And a lot of patients can't afford, the dispensary prices are coming down, but I don't blame patients who find better quality and cheaper price elsewhere to buying black market and using state protections to consume it. It's going on all the time. The average amount a patient buys per month is a half an ounce, not 2 ounces, a half an ounce per month. So they're not getting it all from the dispensaries because it's too expensive. I mean, what do you do? I usually say if it's a loved one, because people will make sacrifices for themselves. That's not the issue. But I'm saying, what if a loved one was presented with a choice? You could get her or him, a full supply of marijuana medicine, black market, but you could only afford 3 weeks if you bought from the state. Would you let that person you cared about suffer for that week, explaining it's the rules, honey? Or would you say, here's your medicine, you never mind where it came from, honey? You know? It's like, it's what's going on, and the state knows it, and everybody knows it, but I don't know. In the next at least couple years, prices will come down, but it's still nice. I got to tell myself, like, I'm getting on the interstate after being at the dispensary. I pull out. I see a state trooper coming up fast. I'm like, why am I puckering? I'm legal. My car is good. I'm good. I can't shake that feeling.
Just think about it. Just maybe you should start a non-profit organization for the people that can't afford to buy.
Oh, yeah, it's well, actually, that card I gave you, I co-founded a nonprofit, but the nonprofit means that we're all volunteer. We're not really aggressive fundraisers. So we're a resource for patients, but you're really exactly right. There are some people around that it's not hard to say it couldn't be done to have a GoFundMe website if you had a plan that people trusted to ease the patient's burden in certain cases. Yeah, well, and there's a lot of people. You know, being allowed, the things you're allowed in the program for usually take you of any extra money you have, even if you have insurance. It's. I don't know a lot of patients who have what I would consider adequate money. More don't than do. So, well, I understand, you know, the black market's going to be a big help still. But in Colorado, where it's legal to grow your own and it's legal for everybody, patients who are medical marijuana patients in Colorado, cardinal rule there, you don't put an open. I thought that.
Can you put that on the floor, Jim, please?
Yeah,
I'll see what I got.
I thought that was my cup with a top that closed on it, and it's not. And
You broke the
don't
rule.
put. Yeah, I broke the rule. You know,
We have.
how do I get
don't have
myself
many
into a
rules.
doghouse now?
We
You
don't
know.
have many rules.
Yeah. You gotta eat the napkin that just wiped it off.
Good luck, man.
Takes it
Good
easy,
luck.
man.
Find a doctor that takes your insurance. That's key, because otherwise you're spending all this money every 3 months. Because they just made it so you don't have to see your doctor every 3 months. You can see him once a year. But the doctors ain't going to follow that. They still want you to come every 3 months.
That's
They ain't,
sad.
they're still going to make
That's
you come.
sad. That's
so
sad.
you're paying $150. You're paying $150 every 3 months. So just so you know.
Take it easy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, the change in my life as far as that goes is Dr. Medvedovsky is no longer. He's a neurologist now. He's practicing his neurology at Virtua. And when I went to him, I didn't have to pay. So now it's been taken over by whoever operates with a bunch of doctors to do whatever they need to do. Still going to see how that works out. But you do have to go back if you. It's not automatically. It's not automatic. Your doctor has. You go for your next scheduled visit, and that's when you deal with will he write it up for a year or not. Actually, it's not quite a year, but it's close. 360 days. So at least it's a possibility. You know, it's really hard to do sometimes, but I think kind of healthy in the long run, is when changes happen, in disproportionate time, spend at least in the beginning a little more of my time appreciating that there has been some sort of advancements, and I put my blinders on a little bit towards the inadequacies because there's always going to be some. It's just such a short trip from, well, that's good, but But that doesn't, and it's still, and I like when people come here and say that. I like when they take part and say that. But when all they do is say it on Facebook, let me put it this way. When you bitch about something and you try to do something to affect a solution, that's advocacy. And if you really push it, then it becomes activism. And that makes you either an advocate or an activist. But if all you do is bitch about something and never do anything to affect a solution, if all you're doing is bitching, all you are is a bitch.
Oh,
Well, that's a definition. That's, so basically if you bitch and at least include your legislators, anybody that can say, I get in touch with my legislators has a right to say what they want and bitch about what they want. That's in my mind, and then you can have a good civil discourse about differences. I like being at that with most people I know right now, because I seem to stand on the outside more than the inside. Still, within my own flock. Why is that? Is there something I don't know about me, Lefty?
I say the same thing.
You know.
Sometimes I think I'm working with a bunch of Sid Barretts, but then sometimes I think I'm Sid Barrett.
There you go. I like the nice surprises when somebody shows up and, just does their thing. I'll give you an example. Ricardo Rivera.
Ricky. Tuffy.
He just shows up and has issue with Governor Christie at a town hall meeting.
Oh, that was great.
And did not shut up when he was told to. And then when the police grabbed his arm and were pulling him out, he had more words to say as he backed up with him. He didn't stop.
Yep.
It was his daughter
He's fighting
at
for his
stake
daughter.
here. And, I think I expressed it today. I've been in fights. And in high school, I certainly got hurt more than I did hurting. But, I'd run away if I could, especially living in Plainfield. But I wasn't really afraid to get hit because it never really hurt as much as it looked like it should or something. I don't know. And I know what fighting is. This is not fighting what we're doing here. We're not fighting. We drove here. Sometimes it's hard to do things. You have to be tenacious. You have to be free and able to use the time. And maybe time is money and whatever. Yeah. But it's not fighting. It's I don't know, tenacity and commitment. And I got to tell you, it's getting to be that we need you a lot more now than it might have seemed before, because the preemptive strike of going to take part before something's final at a town hall, I don't think people understand. That does take what they would call guts. Try it. For anything you believe in, try showing up at a town hall meeting, even when they agree with you. Then try walking in somewhere and trying to convince somebody of something they're dead set against. They're not going to hear you. So does that mean you stay home? To you, no. That's why I admire what you do. To the most of the,
You can't be a quitter if you haven't started anything, so not even a quitter.
Who wishes you'd stay home more than people who say that on Facebook? You should just stay. Why do you do this? When you do what they want you to do, stay home. What does that make you? Makes you
worse than a sheep.
Culpable. You're part of the problem. And you can email council members. You can do that.
Why did Cheryl show up the way she did? What drove her?
What drove her was the fact that she knew it was too late for her, probably, but it wasn't for other people. And when she realized the same thing that keeps people away is what made her politically powerful. And that's what made her Associated Press story of the day, March 30th. And it's not going to help her. So when David Pace of the Associated Press asked for a couple minutes of her time before we were about to go get arrested at Bob Barr's office, he asked her that question, and he requested that he talk with her alone without me. And the look on his face when I said, good, then I don't have to tell you I'm not going to be around when you talk to her. I'd rather you talk to her alone. So I let him have his time, and I read about it in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm reading the Associated Press, and being read by people throughout the country before computer made it so easy. He said, do you think you're going to see this happen in your lifetime? And she apparently replied, oh, no. It's too late for me. I'm trapped in my body, and it's deteriorating, and there's nothing I can do about it. But there are, a lot of other people out there who it's not too late for. It was so basic, you know. It's like what people would call a Christian principle that Christians don't generally live by.
Yeah, I met a lot of fake Christians on this tour, Jim.
And I'm just saying that she did these things for the exact right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it was my privilege to get her there to watch it work out, because she couldn't get herself there.
Was she a religious person at all, a Christian? What was her?
She was, but it wasn't any particular denomination. She had typical Bible Belt faith, but she didn't rely on it. She didn't abdicate her responsibility as a person, in a group of people, to something more mysterious than somebody like me can understand, you know. But we would watch on Sunday morning, a guy would broadcast from Bayville, and he was like a loose cannon, you know. He talked about astrology and related to stuff. So the idea of original sin, making something and then tempting it, is ridiculous. He would go on. I'm like, okay, we can watch him. At night he'd say, before we go, you want to pray? And Cheryl'd say yes. And then he'd say, Jim, what do you think? But that wasn't what made Cheryl, when she did recognize that her power as an advocate was inversely proportionate to her health. So I miss Cheryl in a lot of ways.
She would be doing the same thing she was been doing, but
yeah,
behind her today at these meetings, a huge crowd.
Oh, and it would be widely known. I had to walk across the state to get some pictures of Cheryl, describing everything at the worst part of her life here.
Yeah.
That they could come over, watch her break the law by eating green butter. Now, if she showed up, and I'd like to tell you one thing, were the hospital bed outside on the sidewalk, all done up white. Did a good job. And so she was doing that. Pretty much we're relying on there wasn't gonna be. Did Governor Whitman pick on someone your own size? Okay, that was me. But you got to admit it was a perfect sign. Cabinet, make them available in the afternoon in different rooms, and then she would address everybody. There's two microphones and 2 aisles, and there. And I said, Governor Whitman, I'd like to introduce you to Cheryl Miller. She didn't recognize the name. Pharmaceutical program for the aged and disabled being solved. Medicines cost $20,000 a year. And when she went, oh, I went, and that medicine is Marinol, otherwise her purse or lips. And she did one head nod, like up and down, looking right at me. So I kind of danced up one side and down the other without any venom. Boy. Somebody pulled on my sleeve and whispered, I had my way. What did it do? It didn't change the course of events. So for people who say it didn't really matter showing up then, boy, they don't know how good that felt. And West Nile virus was the big thing everybody wanted to be in the health department's room for. So we went there, and they say, would you like to go first? You know, which is proper because she's laying back and not feeling well on herself just for coming in. So apologize for that. Why would I do that, right? You have any idea how that just makes people really? Isn't that odd? Doing this longer and ask them. And then somewhere along the line, I thought when I got to be I'm 67, buying saving great that's blue smoke cannabis have never, been tried or not tried. A little bit of hope or actually that I've already started. I love it when somebody says, I think I have a good idea, here's what I'm doing. That counts a lot. And as separated from somebody who just obviously knows right. Oh, I used microfilm the first little while. Microfilm.
Or microfiche.
Information and where it was that they could go back and find some old dusty book the New York Times where they have a yearly publication that has just pretty much everything they put out all year. It's huge. It's a book you put down and has lots of pages, more than the book should have. But you had to do something or not, and my actual impetus was Dr. Kevorkian helped me come along as an advocate, but not because of the way he was Dr. Death and helping people end their lives who chose to. It was that people with multiple sclerosis were his most common client at that time, about half. And we're talking about dozens. And when I thanked Cheryl we tried just about everything, and when I thanked her for not considering something like that, she looked me right in the face and said, what makes you think I would never consider something like that? Don't presume. Oh, and man, it made my blood go cold. So I made a list of everything. There were 19 things. I mean, just literally everything. And, we electric shock stimulus to her legs, all sorts of different diets, everything. And nothing's working. So at what point do you tell somebody there's nothing left to try? That's how we got to cannabis.
Yeah, it's a last resort for some, and it should be a first.
Yeah, well, that's what the MS Society was telling us, is there were all sorts of other things to do, and no, there's no merit to this. What do you think? Should people like that get a free pass when they see the light?
No.
And how should that be?
No, they hurt people.
How? What's the proper way for?
Hurtful ignorance.
I understand if they're going to be of help and we move on together at all. That's a good thing. When I say we, I mean them and anybody who has cannabis issues with MS. But the fact that Cheryl and I would show up their MS walks and hand out information about medical marijuana because they wouldn't, and then we'd sit in the enemy camp waiting for the walkers to come back. I like the ones that were done like on a boardwalk where you'd walk down so far and then you just come back, because they all walk back against you on the way back, so you can all give them something. But the MS Society banned me from the parking lot of Bar Anticipation.
I remember that.
They barred me from the parking lot because I was handing out this information.
That's
and
right.
The place was closed down for them to have this event.
Yes.
And they barred me from the parking lot. And they had the right to do that. They could call the police and I would have been escorted off the property, but it's not how I roll. Explained, well, that's a sidewalk right there, and I'm going to go stand right there because I'm allowed to stand on the sidewalk, and I'm going to be the first person everybody's going to pass coming back here.
You told them this?
Yeah.
Good.
And then they would be as far away as from us to where the sidewalk open sign is there.
Did they call the cops anyway?
No.
No, good.
No, they didn't. But people were coming back from a 6-mile walk. And when I went, congratulations, you made it. Here you go. And I'd hand
saw
them
the
that.
video of that. It was
And
great.
they would stop, and if they stop, I'd point, and I'd go, well, I would be over there, but see that woman right there looking at us? Yeah, she won't allow me on there, and I'm nodding my head. I'm miming, so she knows I'm ratting her out. But you can take issue with her if you want, because I think patients do deserve this, and some did go over and talk to her. It wasn't fighting. I was standing there talking,
You're
the simplest thing
educating.
is what people have aversions to. Nobody's going to do what you do and show up. I'd say nobody's going to do this, but...
What this? Nobody has the hair, first of all. You gotta have hair. Have long hair. Do this kind of stuff. And you can, It helps.
You know, it's just nice being the gatekeeper. There's nothing going on, legislatively speaking. Just nothing happening.
I'm surprised. Well, actually, it's summer, so they're all down there.
They're all recessed.
They're at that island.
No, they're all
They're all the
recessed
island.
right now. You know what?
They're all the
This is the best time to get
Fantasy Island. Smiles, everyone. Smiles. Tattoo.
It's
More
a-
women.
It's a good time to just show up at the local district office. You know, I mean, you usually have to get buzzed in. It seems like a lot are keeping the riffraff out by having a buzzer on the door, and they have to see who it is before they let you in. You know, in the freest country in the world. This is how we go about it. Doesn't matter, you get in. But right now it's not a bad time because staffs do not have that much to do. They have time. So
Yeah.
I'm having interesting interactions with staffs, not the actual legislators, and I'm showing my hand, and we got a good hand. Getting rid of the rest of the sales tax. It's going to be fun playing the cards. The beauty is the stakes are not as high as they were last month. Last month we were looking at 6 more years of full 6.625% sales tax on medical marijuana. 6 years, that's what we were looking at last month. Then, governor steps in, slash that down to 3 years, and have it phase out rather than be full amount for 3 years. So basically,
Titrate.
he got rid of 80% of what would have been the tax burden otherwise. So while getting rid of it completely is still my goal, the stakes are not as high. The stakes are like about 16% as high as they were before. Patients may well save close to $100 million in saved sales tax by the time it's all done, depending on how many patients are in a program. But the numbers will bear out. You know, I will be able to use health department statistics, and by 6 years from now, should I still be alive, we'll have those numbers. Now, should I let those people off the hook and say, hey, you know the saying, no harm, no foul? Doesn't apply.
No.
Does not apply. So, okay, harm, foul. Wouldn't that be appropriate? There should be a way of saying I'm sorry, like donating to what was just suggested earlier, a fund for patients who can't afford it.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, there could be something sort of done like that. I'm not the person to do it. I think it's a great idea, but I wouldn't want to be the person deciding who gets whatever meager help is available. Would be the problem. How do you decide which patient? There's so many. They cannot afford their medicine. There's so many that are, you know, having pain still. Actually, that's kind of sadder than having no law, that when you have law and it remains unavailable to more patients than not still, and those it is available to, it's not available full time. And those who have it full time, they give up something else to get it full time. It's this unseen ripple effect in their lives. That makes me want to resurrect the idea of the simple 20-minute, somebody do a selfie, send you 20 seconds worth of their rant, and just putting a few through, you know?
I know some patients who can't afford their medicine, and they start drinking.
Yep, not surprised. Pain especially. Pain, drinking is an analgesic of sorts.
Yeah.
I'm not past having a couple beers. Occasionally I'll have a vodka-based drink. And I can't say that I don't notice the pain disappear a lot more when I do that, but my pain level isn't the level that we're talking about for other people. I realize that. And I know what that's like, but I don't know what it's like to have pain like that knowing it may never get better.
It's getting worse.
I'm sorry, sales tax, please? Thank you.
Yeah, my pain's getting worse, and so is the sales tax.
Yeah. And then there's another thing that go to a council meeting to persist because they can. And that is not why the law was passed, but technically they could. I would ask them to seriously consider declining and become somewhat of a hero and beacon for patients that all they can say right now is it's all about the money. Doctors are going to keep wanting to prescribe, re-recommend you every 4 times a year because they make more money. This is the way patients feel, rightfully so. But one time I'd like everybody to be wrong and have a township say, no, it's not about money. And we're glad patients, from all surrounding towns have, feel safe coming here and back and getting their medicine. But warning them first might actually make it hard for some of the people to vote for that, something never had to be done before, a preemptive strike in that manner. So I'd like to go. I'd like to go, but I just let you know I had a little bad luck doing that, and I'm kind of everything I tell people they shouldn't be. I forget about things for a while.
Me too.
I become what Truth be told, I'm basically, I think, a very lazy person. I know I've got a history of doing things that would appear otherwise, but trust me, look at the rest of my life in between. Island time?
I like my downtime. I need my downtime.
What do you do on your downtime?
I lay on my floor.
Just being well?
Lay on my floor. Lay on my floor. Get massages sometimes, and acupuncture. That's it.
I like the silence of me not having my speakers working in my car when I got to get on Route 72 to go cross state or something.
I need loud music in my car because it rattles a lot.
Yeah. I feel like I'm multitasking, driving and making notes about things. I don't know if I have like a function, a tape recorder function, but I just send voice messages to myself. I text myself. I had an idea on the way here. See, this is how it works. I thought, a silent auction people like, because people donate stuff, as a fundraiser. And then you get tickets, you pay for them, and you are picked for maybe you'll win this or win that. And it's,
I love that.
Okay, a silent auction where the entry fee is a copy of a letter that you have sent to a legislator concerning medical marijuana. Many entries as you want. So if you email 10 legislators, you actually email. I don't care if it's an effective email. You email them. Yeah, those emails get you
a silent auction.
Yeah, into a silent auction. No money's accepted.
Oh, I like that.
Only that. And then see if we can get some really good because sometimes people, especially with stores that are cannabis friendly, they have things that could cost $150 that people would want to have, and they might have a chance to win one by typing the same things they bitch about on Facebook and emailing it to their legislator. Print out a copy and you are in. Not $5. That's it. So there would be no money raised.
Yeah. No, awarenesses will be raised.
Yeah, but also people would see how easy that was.
Yeah.
Okay, now the contest is over. Can you go back to bitching on Facebook without sending the same copy to your legislators? I see some of the most amazingly heart-wrenching things said there about pain levels. And I don't know how to say all the time, please copy and paste that as is to your legislative representation in Trenton. It's heartbreaking. It leads me to imagine what it must be like to be in pain all the time. It would drive me insane. It really would.
Well, maybe that's why I think I'm Sid Barrett, because I think the pain has driven me to the point where I'm actually crazy. And people that are crazy don't realize it, so maybe I just am out there. Probably am.
It's a non-medical marijuana parable, but I'll tell you something I find very beneficial sometimes. It's two little kingdoms at war at each other, maybe 25 people in each kingdom, and one went over and snuck over and poisoned the water supply of this other kingdom.
Oh.
And everybody drank from the water except the king, who was drinking wine. The entire town except the king went mad, and they got together and said, the king, he's gone mad. We must get rid of him. But the king drank from the fountain in the meantime, and when they got to the king to get rid of him, they rejoiced the king had regained his senses. that's what we're up against sometimes. You know, it's hard to tell who's in control of the facility.
Yeah, who's crazy,
know?
who's not,
And, you know.
who do we follow, who do we stay away
and,
from?
And what do? You go to represent, to find out what's going on with the law in Hamilton. And to find out that got by, that the fact that they passed a law after 2 readings and it's a law.
Oh, Fairfield.
It's a law in Fairfield.
Yeah,
A
Fairfield.
municipal law.
Yep.
That use of
Oops.
use of marijuana, whether it be recreational or medicinal, is strictly prohibited in all zones. And then they say that was a clerical error or whatever.
Oops. My bad.
Yeah, but so this is what you're up against. Well, that's all you really have to say if you get caught.
Oops.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Mistake. Made a
It
mistake.
was a clerical error. Who made it? We don't know.
Come on.
But to be fair, Herb Conway, an assemblyman, pulled homegrow out of the original bill and has never been made to explain why. Or was it on his volition, or was it Governor Corzine, as the rumors go?
No, I heard it was Mary Pat Angelini. Pressure from her.
Then say that. That patients deserve to know that. And I have an in to be visiting the office in the next couple of weeks with a constituent
Nice.
who I'm closely connected to. And as I was telling you before, I'd like to say we only need to discuss one of 2 things. One, what the hell happened to homegrow? Why'd you do that? And why are you so mysterious about it? Or the bill that would get rid of the sales tax and the rest of it immediately is in his committee, and he likely won't bring it up for a vote even if people did co-sponsor it. So we can talk about that as well. I think he'd rather talk about that probably.
Yeah.
But that is where we are after all this time, that I'm surprised there isn't a pitchfork and lantern uprising at his office for patients who want homegrow, because that's where it began.
Yeah.
And whether or not we can get anywhere with that now, it's what was promised patients at a later time 10 years ago. I would imagine about a third of the patients alive then are dead, at least, maybe more. So I don't know. I'm thinking, let's just do that for fun. It's an election season. Let's see if patients want to have some fun with Herb Conway. He has to come clean. And if he's not going to bring votes up that are Republican authored that would help medical marijuana patients, if he's not going to bring them up because it's from the wrong party, we're going to make that known. I think we should. It would be a lot of fun. But the gradual steps, it's like a door opening little by little, like in the Telltale Heart. It drove me crazy. Just it always seemed like it was open a little further than he remembered a while back. The escalation process could be that. He does have a practice with an office, a doctor's office.
Conway.
Yeah. He's a practicing physician. He's probably at his office on Fridays. Mondays? Who knows? But that would be a fun place to take issue with somebody about patients where sick people are going in that wouldn't know that. And also, just for the fun of it, somewhere I'm going to go do the post office thing where you set up a little, not even a table this big, where they say you can, and people walk by, they take information or not, but that's where you find constituents. So if you can present, like Brian Cummings would love to do this with me, and he's visibly a patient, and he gets the art of show and tell, that being there, yeah, it's pretty much show and tell, and it works. It works. People will wonder what the problem is. And if it's just urging a legislator to do something he obviously should do, or if they agree that it shouldn't be taxed, they put their name on something and you deliver it out to the office. And then if that doesn't work, there's an escalation. The next time they get a phone call from somebody at the post, I'm at the post office, you know. And then one day he's at a function, he looks up and there you are. And it's time, showtime. And he doesn't know how it's coming, but he knows it's about to happen. That's beautiful. You know, I've always enjoyed that.
Just watched an ant go into my mixing board.
Yeah, they're out and about.
He actually crawled inside the fader hole.
Really?
Oh boy.
I'm looking up at the screen thinking if I see an ant in the podcast on the screen, I'm going to freak out, you know. I got to say I'm fairly medicated, but okay, the difference by the way with the torch and that.
A few degrees.
No, I'm just saying it's like
Same thing.
but it's the same thing except for I'm not bothering torching it up and
Right.
waiting and timing it right now. I'm not having, and I'm not. I mean, I'm looking at that. Except for at some point I want to graduate to that. I have a benefactor, actually, which is sometimes it happens to patients. You know, somebody that knows you doesn't want you to go without, and can make things happen occasionally. But that's sad, you know, like, because patients don't want to feel like, well, I don't want to be a charity case, and I really don't. But then I realize when you know the other person and you realize that not allowing help would hurt that person more than them helping.
Yeah.
I mean, and it does you no good. So you have to know when to realize if that's what it's called, that's what it's called. Yeah, you know that is, I'm tired of patients being second-class citizens in any way because life makes them a second-class citizen in a lot of social situations. It just does.
Yeah.
So when it comes time to rulemaking, they shouldn't have to show up. They shouldn't have to pressure legislators to do the right thing. Although they are quite in between on Republicans pointing their fingers at Democrats about the sales tax. Republicans hopped on that. They sent up some rookies a couple of times, but the guest column, I guess it was, in the Star Ledger by Assemblyman DeMayo the day before the signing of the A20, he skewered Democrats about the sales tax and that it shouldn't be there at all. And the governor, of course, he already knew it was coming too when he wrote that the governor's going to take an axe to most of it. Yet his bill that he wrote that would get rid of it entirely and immediately has one co-sponsor. Do you think he's bitching at his Republican counterparts for not co-sponsoring like he's bitching at Democrats for not co-sponsoring? You know who sponsors a Republican bill first? Republicans. You know who co-sponsors a Democrats bill first? Democrats. It's how it works.
Right. We know that.
Yeah, so if he isn't working at all to get sponsors for his bill, and the person who's a sponsor of his bill is not from his office. In other words, he has an office with another assemblyman in the same building, the same office, the same address, the same phone number. And that person isn't a co-sponsor of his most important bill. Does he bitch at him when he walks in? Where the hell's your co-sponsorship? So I think Democrats are probably right. I think it is a diversion bill. I think it was done so they could point fingers, and they've done that artfully. But at this point, somebody has to show up with a straight face with the ability to help them get co-sponsorship and watch them fight you about getting co-sponsors. I mean, shouldn't it be, thank you, Jim? I'm going to appreciate the help. I hope you can help.
Thank you, Jim.
No, from them. It's the guy's bill. It's like, hey, look, you're a Republican. I used to be a Democrat. I'm kind of like neither now. But I would love to help you not only get co-sponsors for your bill, but I would like to help you bring down the Democrats who thought that a full tax for 6 years was the proper thing to do.
Hoops for the sick and dying.
Hey, I'm not representing the coalition now. I can actually say more. That right over there, Joe Vitelli told me why that should remain a tax for all those years. And when I told him I was going to work with Republicans to help them steal that from Democrats, what did he say? Well, good luck.
Good luck with that.
He wished me luck. Like, what are you going to do about it? And my hatchet man, the governor, came in and slashed that tax he said they needed, and Joe Vitelli stood there applauding that. It was so sweet. So sweet watching him. Good luck. And then, like, 3 weeks later, he's applauding not having anything. You know, how many patients do you think will be in a program 5, 6 years from now? It could be 200,000.
Yeah.
Could be. They're getting nothing that year, the tax. They're not getting 6% of 200,000 people. And if 200,000 people paid even 200 in tax, well, if they paid 100, the numbers are startling. And the governor acts that already. So, Joe Vitelli, I know you're not listening. I know you'll probably never hear me say this, but thanks for wishing me luck. Apparently, it gave me luck. The governor did my work for me, and now I'm going to push home the rest with Republicans. I think he should let go of the rope. I'm going to call my little mini campaign, Let Go of the Rope, Joe.
Let go of the rope, Joe.
Let go of the rope, Joe. Time to let go of the rope. 80% gone. How are you going to protect the remaining 20? What are you going to say about why the state needs that little bit of money more than patients? It's not even enough to fight for now, is it? Not for them, it shouldn't be. So anyway, I think this act, you never know. It could just be okay. Governor could say, bring that bill. Put it on my desk. Vote on it. I want you to do that. Who's going to say, no, we don't want to deal with it? He played that really good. He knew Sweeney nor Vitelli could say no to phasing out over 3 years. That would be a very bad reason to stop this bill from being signed. They would be wearing it. And they had to say he bullied them. This is awesome. Of course, Steve Sweeney said he supports getting rid of it as well. He said that, and I believe he was lying, but, you know. Well, I use the L word pretty freely, don't I?
They do a lot of that, unfortunately.
You know why I feel so free now? I watched the video, the documentary Pete Christopher made, 28 minutes of the case for medical marijuana necessity, Cheryl Miller. And at the end, that was how it ended, with her going, most of them is liars.
They're liars.
And that was it. He ended with that. And she said it so matter-of-factly, you know. And then to watch her say before that, well, it's hard for her to talk. They've been telling me, oh, we'll get to you next year, but I've had it a long time. You know, she's saying, you think I got it next year? And she didn't at that time, actually. She had less than a year to live then. So,
yeah. Why are we still waiting? What are we waiting for? If it was your family member, you'd be rushing to do this, take care of this.
Why are we still waiting?
Ignorance.
Okay, let's use home cultivation for patients as an example. It's something that, you know, will be pushed back, but they were asked to wait. Why are they still waiting? Where's the representation for this, legislatively speaking?
That's a stigma.
Is it about money?
I believe it's stigma and money, but a lot of stigma.
Yeah. It's going to get to people who aren't patients. Well, you know, is it better that patients don't have it and the other people are right now getting it somewhere else anyway?
Right.
It's not like, well, I hope patients get to grow because I don't know how else to get marijuana in New Jersey. That's the only way. You know, come on. It's not preventing anything. And the look that it might be is irrational. Does anybody really think if somebody wants to buy marijuana in New Jersey, they won't be able to do it? I'm not saying if you live here and you know people, I don't mean to say that you can just walk up and start going, psst, hey, you got some. When is that ever going to work? You know.
That worked for me once in San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah. I was with Pete Christopher, too.
Oh.
I jumped out of the car. We just got there, and we pulled up. I said, hey, there's a bunch of people over there, a bunch of hippies.
Yeah.
I said, let me jump out and ask them.
Really?
So Pete pulled over.
Yeah, San Francisco.
I jumped out. I got the guy with the longest hair. I said, hey, got any cannabis? He said, yeah, hook you up. Gave me a quarter.
Huh.
It was good.
I can tell you an alternate experience. Cheryl we flew out to Texas, where her parents lived in the Panhandle, and the whole village was take care of for a half year, round-the-clock care. And I would work like 3 jobs, so we'd get ahead. That was probably a necessary but yet hardest and worst decision ever. I remember I would have taken that back a week out, but that's what happened, And, oh God, I forgot what I was telling you that. I get so absorbed in remembering something.
Pot story.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch this and say, oh, now I remember.
Yeah, I jumped out of the car in San Fran.
Oh yeah.
And I bought some weed.
I had a drive back with her hospital bed after we flew out there.
Okay, so you're.
I flew back and I got into the van with her hospital bed, and then I drove it to.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, this was
wow.
Oklahoma, not the Panhandle, Texas.
Right.
Just Oklahoma. So I drove it out there, but I had nothing, and it's a long drive, and I would stop at rest stops, and one time I pulled in right, I could see the motions, I pulled in, I got out, they'd obviously just lit something up, and I said, I would do anything for a toke, man, seriously. We put that car in reverse and peeled out. I was so demoralized.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, how old was I then? I would have been like 35.
Wow.
It wasn't like I was 90, or
Wow.
had a mustache and looked like a cop or something.
Wow, that's so hurtful.
Yeah, and then
Must have been a sativa they were smoking.
I don't know.
You're a little paranoid.
Yeah, I had never had any luck with that, But it should be that easy. It's a long ride. I understand, it's like, well, you can't say, well, driving and while smoking is not right, It's hard for me to say that, but I don't know. It's odd how it's really different than alcohol, and as much as it does affect different people really differently. I mean, alcohol is fairly reliable. Some people more intensely than others, but I think perhaps after I got to actually do all the year 49 years of being a consumer.
Wow. I'm only 51. You started smoking in 1970 you started smoking. Wow.
It was just funny when you said, I'm only 51. I was wondering, when I was 51, were you saying, he's only 51? I bet you weren't.
Jeez.
I'll bet not. You're over 50, dude. You got gray.
Yeah, I'm salt and pepper now.
Yeah.
Jeez, what happened to me?
What happened to you is you became the most tenacious advocate I know. I mean, if there's a tenacity award, it's yours.
I don't want to accept awards, please.
That's a prize.
I'll take that. Yeah,
That's the
I'll take
prize. I watched, went to
Give God a
I went to Weed
Give it to
Man's. He had an event, maybe 7-8 years ago, the Sportsman's Lounge, I think it is, in Trenton. I went with Mike Kessler, and it was basically an environment where you were metal detected on the way in, and for everybody's. It was where it was. I'm okay with that in a way.
I'm not.
Well, I mean, I'm not with, but what I liked best was in the beginning how Ed said, okay, now we know we got some plain clothes here somewhere today. Where are you? And there's a white guy and a man of color sharing a table, and they both raised their hands.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that was relaxing. And but the thing was, he was raffling off, I think it was 2 ounces of pot, as a
Nice.
prize. And he had video of it, because of course he wouldn't have it there, but he was showing the video of it of himself in the raffle.
Okay.
And it was funny because when it came time, first person that won it was like, I don't want to say anything. He's all, come on, you can't do that. He's going to be win or win. But it was an interesting experience, plain clothes, having pizza, watching the fundraiser. Again, tenacious. Ed, New Jersey, Weedman, Fortune, and you, between the two of you, I would wonder who's third place. Yeah, it's quiet here when nothing's going on with legislators.
Yeah, it's a hot summer day. People are inside, and they're all down at the aisle.
The great part about being here generally is the proximity to the source of our discontent. And now it's just really hard to know. There's still a lot of legislators that have had votes that are questionable, and I told my guy Greg at the 10th District office that somebody should alert DeMayo that he may well get a question about voting against a bill that would allow veterans with post-traumatic stress into the program. And it was a bill destined to pass, so 13 Republicans voted against it, no Democrats, and it passed easily. They knew it was going to pass, 13 voted against it. That's a statement vote. What was the statement? I mean, we never found out that statement. So, and what he wrote and had published, and I guess it was the Star Ledger, addressed that, just touched it, saying that he did vote against some things earlier, but we've moved on from that now, and it's almost like, can't we just move on from here? And it's like, yeah, we can move on from here. We really can. But when we're done moving on, we come back and we want an answer. You know, why did?
Yeah.
What was the message?
We have questions.
That it's our fault that we don't understand if that's where we stop and say, well, they should this or they should that. You know, it's like, you know, you can watch me be a carpenter and go, hey, you should just, and I'm like, well, I know all sorts of reasons why not.
Yeah. Jay Weber gave me some reason at the diner. I forget what it was. Some stupid shit about, we don't have enough testing. We don't know enough about it.
Yeah, that's talking points. Yeah.
It's just, it's just
but
the basic
actual,
shit.
the actual reason that they're part of an actual caucus where he would have to talk to others before he said yes to that. He could not say yes without talking to other people. What do you mean you signed that? You know, they get together and then you're getting a group, an amalgam of an opinion. And I would respect that. I would rather hear that. My vote's not my own on this. I have to vote party line.
It's
If
tough.
I want to do anything about my real passion, it's something else. I'm going to lose people that I need if I vote this way, and I need them for that. That's what happens. That's what I thought that Fruquan, who just left the Senate Majority Office, he was Philippe's contact there. He was the one in charge of whipping up the Senate votes for legalization. And I like when he explained, you know, you do it this way and you'd have 18 if you made all the deals. Then you change this and you gain 2 but you lose 1. And he said they got as good as close as 21 were no votes, where they needed 1 more. They needed 21. That was the minimum number to scuttle it. And then they'd end up back at 18. And he could not. There was no way to put the pieces of that puzzle together. It couldn't happen. So it's a game of let's make a deal. And if we don't know the deals they're being asked to make, we don't know why they voted how they did. So the playing field is we don't know why, and we're probably never going to know unless somebody, you know, gets honest. I wouldn't hold my breath for that. Anyway. Recognizing the playing field, advocacy 101, that's the first thing you need to know. You like to know why something is, but if you can't find out why, just know that it is, and that's part of the game. Of course, it works in our favor sometimes. We can't be prevented from doing this. We do have a generous consuming medicine in public law. Do you know people don't know that?
No, they still don't know that.
Well,
Most.
This is actually, you know, the crux of, what is it, a 5-year ignorance is no excuse tour?
Yeah, been 6 years.
I hope
It's been a
people
while.
realize the ignorance is no excuse tour is specifically what you hear in court. Ignorance is no excuse. Should be no excuse in the discourse of official duties. When you're a police and you're dealing with taking somebody's medicine, ignorance is no excuse. And did you not find, at least until a little while ago, that the general way, the most often way to solve any problems was to confiscate and let it work out in the courts? And they were perfectly content to do that as if that was an acceptable solution. Like, don't worry, it gets worked out in the court. Patience. They're without medicine. Got to go to court. Come
Go to
on.
court. Tell it to the judge.
It's just not that easy. They just don't float down the court and appear there. You know, and then there's costs involved often. Court costs. Who pays that? Yes. And are on purpose.
Before we go,
But very.
you ever hear this one? You want to hear the original first?
Yeah, you know, it helps understand what you're that you do for.
This is the original.
I like this kind of music.
Well, it's 40 below and I don't give a fuck. Got a heater in my truck and I'm off to the rodeo. It's elemental left and elemental right. Come on, you fucking let me get the right step right. Get off stage, you goddamn goof, you know. You piss me off, fucking jerk. You get on my nerves. Well, here comes Johnny with his pecker in his hand. He's a one-ball man and he's off to the road. Get off stage, you goddamn goof, you know.
It's down now. You know what?
It is. New Riders, Purple Sage type sound, you know.
Oh, here's the
Separate
problem.
thing.
We're going to lose our... I got two things going at once, and it's not going to work. All right, host a show while I do some engineering. Ready, go.
Have you ever wondered? Yeah, host the show. This is just sort of like close my eyes, say things, and deal with it, everybody, or anybody.
Oh, boy. Here we go. I should have taken care of this before pre-show, but oh well. Sorry.
Well, I guess what I'd like to point out is that sometimes fighting for something isn't really fighting, and I don't think we should call it that. I guess I would go back to reiterate about my problem with people pointing out problems with our cannabis laws on Facebook. And they're right. And nobody reading it on Facebook has any say in the matter. They're not going to get a vote. You know, everybody says what they're for and what they're against. The person that should care would be the people that can help patients in art, and they would be legislators. And then this is when we run into, well, you can't affect them. You don't have any money. You don't have any influence, especially if you're not a constituent. There's no reason they should help you, therefore they won't. You need to pay to play. And yeah, it does make it easier, but it shouldn't stop people from weighing in on the envelope and put a stamp on it, and you know, you might get a reply in 6 weeks. Why bother? That sounds like work. But now it's the exact same time it takes. It's the same thing people use with their keypad time on Facebook, and they never simply click send to where it needs to go. And I find that perplexing. It's like, well, they're not going to do anything. Well, what does it cost you to email anybody? What does it cost you? Nothing. It's what it costs me, nothing.
Penny?
Seriously, how much time does it take to take what you've typed, copy, paste it into a letter? And it could take, I don't know. You know, this was the exact talk I gave. We were talking about Rob Robinson's yearly Down Sam Festival. That's what I did when I spoke the last time I was there. It was about click and send a letter to your legislators, exactly long before their mouth across the finish line. I said, you don't even have to stop smoking. You could send something to your legislator. And then I told them that actually this was a post-hypnotic suggestion, and the next time that they were rolling a joint and they could see their computer, they'd feel guilty. And they wouldn't be able to stop feeling guilty. I don't know what else to say. What do you got to do to get people to take part? I mean, sometimes I find a reason to approach people. Maybe they just have to be more angry than they are right now. And on a related front, what about the work Joanne Zito does?
Isn't she great?
Where did that happen that can be done to try to make this happen?
While working a full-time job and taking care of a kid.
Blows me away.
She's really amazing.
It's what gives me faith in that if there's one Joanne Zito out there, there could be more.
I don't know about that.
Well, there could be.
But we need more people like
there,
Joanne, yes.
Even if it takes 2 or 3 people to do the work that she does. I look forward to... I've been a sales tax specialist because she's a home cultivation for social purposes specialist. And that's a good thing because to go to. I don't actually formulate the plans. I'm trying to formulate them for my own specialty. And then, we cross purposes together all the time. But it amazes me. She's doing the organizational work and putting things in an understandable form, a graphic that you can see often, And just on top of the information,
wow.
it was really good talking to him, and he's having his own issues, but I realized talking to him that he understood every word I said. I didn't have to explain. Doing talk in Wisconsin, and then I published. He knows more about the history of cannabis in Wisconsin than probably anybody in the world. He would be the expert. He would be the actual expert. It's just one state, but he's the expert. And I'm going to read it before publication, and he wants me to write the foreword to it. So at one point, I will be in the world. But I think that's nice. He doesn't want it to disappear. He thinks it should be done. And, I appreciate his sense of history. And that, we don't laugh.
This is the one I'm going to do. It's called ATC.
I'm trying to think how many bands this sounds like.
I have lyrics
So
here.
you have lyrics
Okay.
to a version of that song for language.
Yeah, just elbow me if there's a kid nearby. There is a curse word in here.
It might take a quick one of these here, though.
Hold on, I need levels. All right, here we go. Yeah, go ahead.
5 pushes or
5. Yeah, 5 to start.
I'll get it.
There you go. All right, let's get this right. Will spell take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle. Well, here comes Johnny with his bong in his hand. He's a one-dab man and he's off to the ATC. It's pass to the left, take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you fucked up the rotation again. You pissed me off. You fucking jerk. You get on my nerves. Big bong, 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 bong. 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 Well, it's hot as hell, and I don't give a shit. Got my doobie all lit, and I'm off to the ATC. It's pass to the left, take from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you fucked up the rotation again. You piss me off, you fucking jerk. Get on my nerves. Well, here comes Billy with a blunt in his mouth. He's down from the south and he's off to the ATC. It's pass to the left, take it from the right. Come on, you fucking dummy, don't pass to the right. Get out of the circle, you fucked up the rotation again. Piss me off. Fucking jerk. Get on my nerve. There you go. Bow bow. Big bong.
I'm glad I heard the original song first. Because
You have a little context.
no, it's pretty close.
You have to do a kind of a parody, keep it kind of
that's pretty
similar.
good, yeah.
Keep it a pot song. A little dirty. Dirty little ditty. All right, how do I shut this off now? Jesus. Remember your band that will be over to play with you one day.
No, yeah, well, that no,
good
we're not going to have a fiddle or a steel pedal.
Maybe that should be my job, a fiddle. I should get a fiddle. It's 4 strings. How hard could it be?
How hard could it be? Really. And 6-string things are too hard.
I
but
can't stand
4?
those damn 6 strings.
Yeah, I think it's that's a specialty sort of a sort of sound. But my cousin bass player John, he excels at that touch, at that feel for keeping the beat with the drummer. And we have all sorts of great drum loops and specific stuff going. But that's a pretty good. I like that progression though, musically speaking.
Fun
though.
stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's an old song.
And I'll need to have a reminder of who that is at some point.
Gary Lee.
Gary
Showdown.
Lee. Showdown. Okay, I can remember that.
So I want to thank cmmmnj.org, sativacross.com, magicalbutter.com, NewJerseyWeedman.com, UFCW, Local 152, DavidVersusAutism.org, Medical Pure Puff Vapor Supply, Sativa Cross West. Want to get sad?
Yeah.
All right.
So it serves a purpose.
Yeah, we added names to this list this year already, and it's a sad list. It's very sad.
It just
Yeah.
gets longer.
It gets longer, and it's more hurtful as we go along. Show her around in the bed, and she used to fight with her head. She couldn't move her arms or legs, but Jim was her arms and legs, and she just needed her mouth and her brain, and she changed hearts and minds.
Just showing up, yeah.
Yeah, showing up, taking
Just
part.
showing up.
We need more of that.
When people can, the same reasons that keep people from going. For some, it's their strong suit. What's be important?
Yeah, that's why I don't think people can have an excuse if you can't show up once, because she showed up as sick as she was, as sick as I am, as sick as you are sometimes.
If it's for a purpose, for her to show up and actually be in her hospital bed, her actual bed right in front of the State House there.
Yeah.
And it was very apparent. I never thought about it, but when I saw her there, have you ever seen a hospital bed outside? I haven't either. There's ever. Not even for I mean, I think there's hospital bed races somewhere where they put big wheels on them and go down a hill and into water or something. I don't know what it is,
Recreational beds.
Yeah, recreational hospital bed. But just seeing that, it gave it such a look, and I love that picture of the look of defiance on her face that somebody took. Was behind her, and there's a very defiant look.
Well, yeah, I mean,
TV cameras gathered around, hospital bed, and that sign, Governor Whitman, pick on someone your own size from a hospital bed. Okay, that was me. that was mine, but Cheryl had approval over everything.
Of all people, though, she killed a lot of people on 9/11. She was almost as bad as the terrorists on 9/11, Christy Whitman. Just saying. Yeah. She killed almost as many people as a terrorist did. Just saying.
Well, you can say it.
I did. I'll say it again.
Okay.
Christy Todd Whitman killed almost as many people as a terrorist did.
She's back, I've seen her somewhere on a prognosticators show.
I knew she was lying the day it happened. She's like, "Oh yeah, the air's fine." I'm like, "I can smell it in Bayonne. Yeah. I smell the air in Bayonne, Christy Todd. Yeah. It's not fine."
Yeah.
Jeez.
I went up to Jersey City to take a look 6 days after.
Oh.
And there's an apartment building there that I said I lived at, and they have a dock that has a boat that goes over, so you could look right across, right there.
Smoldering.
And, well, I had a picture, and there was a guy and his maybe 10-year-old son, and he asked his dad, where were the trade towers? And he's looking over, and I said, "See that copper roof right there, about half as high as the others?" "Yeah." You shouldn't. And then he got it. That was never visible till this week. That week then. In other words, there was 2 World Trade Towers centered right in front of us. So anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know.
It smelled for a month.
No fan
A
of
couple of months. And Christy Todd Whitman is saying, yeah, there. But you couldn't because, but they could have had more respirators on. They could have had better protection. Maybe if the EPA had gotten on the ball.
All these years later,
Yeah.
they're still fighting for Victims' Compensation
it's
Fund in
sad.
Washington. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Shouldn't be as many victims.
And they have to have the sick and dying fighting for their rights again. Here we go again.
And who was the most powerful spokesperson? A man that was obviously about to die. Showed up in Washington.
Again.
Yeah.
It's sad that the sick have to come out and fight for themselves while they're dying on their deathbed.
Well, some do, so others don't. But
Yeah.
I think the others that don't or can't should recognize that and not sound like they're making excuses, because I don't know their pain either. I really don't. I've gotten caught presuming once or twice, and it feels bad. So anyway, yeah, Cheryl, patient number 1, not afraid to step up, not afraid to fight so others wouldn't have to, and I gotta say that spoiled me for life. And I apologize to people if I seem like I have a little tolerance at times for people bitching about stuff without doing anything, but you got to understand where it came from.
You were the activists back then.
I didn't know anybody else in here in New Jersey.
There was nobody.
Not till 1998.
Yeah, I remember coming out
I
with
mean,
Pete
I
Christopher.
know Pete and John Pease, but
That's it.
they weren't like active at that time.
I wasn't doing nothing. I was like, wow, I understand it. And now I understood it. I was like, wow.
Nobody within us understood it then.
No,
so
I didn't know.
She had to educate people with MS, and we picketed them, and I said, you do realize that doing this is going to lose us funding. So you're not spending it on doing research, and you're saying no tests exist, and you're the largest research organization in the world on this subject. So you see what I'm trying to stimulate is do the research,
Yeah.
and then say it hasn't proven to pan out, or it has. So yeah, we fought for a long time, Daryl and them, and she always won. You hearing me, Dr. Stephen Rheingold? That's right, he had his name on the sign Cheryl proudly displayed over her chair going down 5th Avenue in 1998. The MS Society's Dr. Rheingold lies about medical marijuana. And then we dropped off the sign at his office in New York. See, what do you call that? I guess that's activism. I don't know. I gotta say though, Cheryl's view of New York and the tall buildings leaning back in a wheelchair, she had the best view.
I saw that picture.
Yeah.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, the route was cut in half that year by the whoever allows you to march, and Dana Beale's theory was, well, then we'll walk twice as slow. So the police came up to us because we were leading the parade, and there was like 5,000 people that year. And we were leading that parade, and the officer asked us to pick it up, and I said, I can't. She's going to probably have spasm if I do. You understand, don't you? I always do that. At the end, I'd look at them and smile and go, you understand, don't you? You know, what are they going to say? You want to argue that now? And then a different one took his place and made her day, and she'd remember him till the day she died. The crowd was chanting, we smoke pot and we like it a lot. And he looked down at Cheryl, and out of the corner of his mouth, like, you know, Jim Backus spoken of. We smoke pot and we like it a lot. Like himself, you know. Just looking at her smiling. She never
I love
forgot
that story.
Yeah.
That's great. I love a cop story with a happy ending.
Yeah. And then, actually, though, when we got to the end of that walk, I kind of missed my chance as an activist. The police said anybody goes beyond here with a sign is going to be arrested.
Oh.
And we had a sign.
Oh.
It was on a chair. And I could have said and announced, I want to know what Cheryl wants to do. And I'd bend down. Oh, my bad. You know, you're dividing lines. I just like to yank chains like that. I always have, and I didn't do it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they didn't want us, but Another thing, I'll tell you the power of Cheryl, we were at an event there, and I pulled a move going back to the Lincoln Tunnel because we had to get there. And in New York, stopped every traffic. I mean, like, and came the 7-8 steps over to me and started really screaming at me through my window.
Wow.
And I said, "You want to take the responsibility here?" And he ducked down and then saw it was Cheryl laying there, and he'd seen her where we were before, because I think I had a speaking part. I forget where it was. Then, as it's,
Yeah, take part.
you get noticed. So
Take part. It's worth it.
But the sad part is if she's patient one on this list, that means there's many behind her on the list that
Well, yeah.
some didn't need to be.
After Cheryl, there comes little Sabina Rose, little baby. Her whole life was a seizure.
Well, we know the family, and we can safely say that it's greatly affected them for the rest of their life. And
Yeah.
I cannot imagine. I think of them a lot.
Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan Ford, Randy Robertson, Polly Connolly, Bill Buckman, who was my attorney a couple times.
90s for taking on racial profiling on the turnpike
That's right.
without accepting any money, and came so close to losing his practice doing it. Kind of a hero for that in my mind.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Big time.
New Jersey, he outed the entire state in their practices and won in court.
Yeah. Bill Buckman.
Yeah.
Chad, Jeremy, Joanne's husband, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ Perry, Roger Barber, who used to come out here all the time with Jenny, Laura, Marley. Roger had a heart attack. It was a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of other issues, and he just...
The time he spent as a lawyer fighting for his daughter's right to have this medicine in a special needs school opened the doors across country.
Yeah.
And but he just lost a lot of weight, put a strain on him.
Yeah.
And
A lot of stress.
a lot of stress. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, he had a sick daughter, and plus he was fighting as a lawyer for his sick daughter and for other children, and it's a lot. He was sick to begin with. He was a card holder. And loved smoking with Roger. I loved it. We did his first dab.
He had a stoned smile
It
you
was
couldn't miss.
just the best. The best, man. Yeah, we miss you, Roger.
Indeed.
Jay Arletto called me a couple of weeks before he died asking how to get off dope. And I gave him the whole rigmarole, and the whole rigmarole was not worth it. And it was easier to go get a $10 bag of dope than it was to get in this medical marijuana program. Sorry.
Yeah, way easier.
Sorry, Jay. Sorry the system failed you. Sorry there's no compassion in Jersey for the people on drugs, on opiates. It's getting there, though. It's getting better. But, yeah. Narcan for everybody. Big pharma for all. Ella Bagelman, she was here quite a few times. Hattie Koshel, my grandma. Jackie Rickert. Now, she had the law named after her, didn't she?
Yeah, the law that never got passed
That-
in Wisconsin was a Jackie Rickert.
Right. And she never qualified for it.
No, well, the law, she wouldn't have qualified. They never passed it. They never. At one point, the guy that wrote the bill, a Republican, didn't bring it up in his own committee. So we marched in their yearly parade. I made a 5-foot coffin out of foam and put black tape on it. It looked like a real 5-foot hardwood black coffin. And we put a sleeping bag and roses in it when it was opened, and a copy of the bill. And underhung
Sure did.
3-inch needle because I was good at doing that with eye.
Anthony. Jake the Tank. We just passed Jake's law. So it's still sad when there's a little child on your list of death. Armando had tailbone cancer. I don't know how the hell you get tailbone cancer, but in New Jersey, We live in a big red dot, so you can expect every part of your body to have cancer. But poor Armando, he had tailbone cancer and died from that.
Well, I never heard of that.
I've never heard of tailbone cancer. Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, my brother-in-law, Frank Di Toronto, who died a month ago, over a month ago, from fentanyl, overdosed. Actually, it wasn't even an overdose. There was just fentanyl in his system. And I think the cocaine had fentanyl in it. Or somebody put fentanyl in his cocaine, and he died. It's real shit, man. Drugs for a while. Many, many years. And I've talked to him about cannabis, and he wasn't hearing it. He didn't want to hear about cannabis. He wasn't ready to get off the dope.
What was his drug of choice?
Dope. Pills, heroin. And he recently got out of jail, and he was clean. He was doing better. He had a job. He was actually getting his life together, and we thought he was doing well. But apparently he was doing a little bit of coke here and there, and somebody put fentanyl in his coke. I hear people do that in the city. They put fentanyl in coke. I don't know if that's a thing or not, or if that's something that people do separately. I don't know about that. But that's what John Belushi died from, like speedballing.
Yeah.
High-low kind of. Michael Dillon, he died from a drop seizure, and if Honeyb was here, she would tell you to give 10% to somebody who really needs it. It's called a tithing. And you give 10% to somebody who's sick and dying, somebody who needs help, you give them some help. Give them 10% of your 10% of your money, 10% of your cannabis. Just give them 10%. It's a tithing. Not a big deal. It won't hurt you.
If you're the type of person that goes to festivals when the festival time comes up at the end of summer and early fall, yeah, there's always patients there that manage to get there, and I would suggest the same thing there. I used to actually suggest, hey, listen, if you're rolling joints, don't finish them, and then take those roaches. And, you know, you think it's embarrassing to give them to a patient,
Good
but
idea.
that patient will thank you when
Yeah.
you give them to them, and they will thank you again when you're not around when they're using that
That's
medicine.
a great idea.
You know, just don't finish and you know, give them to a patient.
10% of your joint. Hashtag they shall grow. We need that. We need to grow some cannabis in Jersey.
Hashtag hash.
Hashtag hash. Hashtag they shall grow. They shall grow not old as we